Hi, everybody. Kevin Harned Ryan Hoke with you on this Friday evening. We're glad you're in with us. We've got a lot to talk about. Most of the roar is coming from out west, and that's where they are not only preparing for severe weather, but that's where they're seeing the severe weather. We've got a lot to talk about, though, because we're going to talk about what their weather looks like and what we are expecting here. So I think we're going to wind up spending the better part of the next half hour to an hour here with you. And as folks start to jump in, we'll be showing you what's going on with several of our sister stations. The great part about being part of a company like Gray Media is that we have 113 television stations across the country, many of those in the path of what will be the rough weather tonight and what we expect to be a very rough day tomorrow in the South. So we're going to show you what's going on in each of those markets that have nonstop coverage going on.
Yeah, we understand that there's a lot of interest in this severe weather because tonight, of course, it's across the plains in the Midwest. Tomorrow, it's the deep South. So if you're watching us from what we call out of market, if you are not in the immediate Louisville area here, first off, hello and thank you for watching Wave Weather Now. It's our 24/7 local weather live stream here for the Louisville, Kentucky area. We are going to hit on a few regional and national points of interest here with these two severe weather events here. So stick around if you're with us here on YouTube, either nationally or internationally here. We'll try to serve you as well. But our main focus is going to be the Louisville area and the 34 counties that we serve in Kentucky and southern Indiana as we get 2 rounds of storms through here on our Saturday.
Yeah, we're going to repeat a lot of things too, different ways, whether that's graphically or by text, just so you know what we expect. So we're going to walk through that. If you have the chance, go ahead, share the videos so we can get everybody in so we don't have to sit here all night and repeat. Though I have a feeling this is what we'll be doing most of the night. We'll be sort of buckled in here, tracking these storms to our west and then watching them as they fade, as they move closer to us. So we're going to talk about that. There's still several hundred people jumping in now. We've got thousands of people watching on our apps. We appreciate that. A lot of folks are talking about what's going on out to our west. And indeed, we can show you what some of our colleagues are doing out across parts of Missouri. Ron Hurst is on the air here. And you'll notice that they have quite the system pushing through. They have a Hook Echo right there near Hartville, right around Missouri 5 that he is tracking as we speak. So we can kind of give you an idea of what he's talking about there.
And if there is a potential tornado, there is some circulation out here that's going to be kind of this is only going to be about a mile or so back to the northwest of the Highway 5, Highway 60 junction. And notice we have a very large thunderstorm here in the southwest part of Wright County. Very heavy rain up in Hartville again. And so there may be something.
So again, you're just watching, just give you an idea of what we're going to be doing over the course of the time that we're sitting here is we're going to constantly be checking in with our colleagues out there just to see what they're tracking, what they're seeing, the real-time reports. That's important for us to be able to show you, and we can do that since they're part of our Gray family, and that's what we intend on doing through the evening. Well, let's bring it back for us because we're going to go through some weather information here as some folks are getting settled in. Let's talk about where we are now and where we're going. We had a high of 81 today. Our record was 82 set just last year. So that too. Well,
82. So they just updated it.
They updated that.
They updated it. So today was a record tying day.
That's crazy. That's 2 in a row. We have that
yeah. So that's the second 80-degree plus day we've had so far in 2025 this March, if you can believe it.
Yeah, just wild there. When we look at where we are, we do have the storm chances for us listed. So we're going to talk about this in 2 rounds, which is what we've done since the weekend, because that's the way we broke it down. We said we know we're going to have wind. That was sort of the early reasoning for the alert day was we knew it was going to be windy. We saw the cyclone that would develop. turned into be a bomb cyclone, dropping 24 millibars in 24 hours. So that's the storm. We knew the wind was going to be there, and then we kept watching it and saying, well, not only could it be wind, but we could have severe weather with this. That's going to be a possibility. Could have some flooding with this in places. That's a possibility. So the alert day has been in place since the weekend to say, hey, busy as you are, going to need to pay attention by Friday and Saturday, and that's where we are.
Right. We know folks have other things going on in life, and this is just kind of an inconvenience here. But something we do want to stress is that this is not a time to panic, not even close. In fact, if I were to pick a spot within the United States to be, if you're still to be within the severe weather risk area, but in a spot where it would be the most manageable and maybe the least impactful, I would actually pick Louisville, Kentucky, just because we're going to be a bit far east of tonight's severe weather outbreak to our west and a bit too far north for tomorrow's deep south severe weather outbreak here. So there is a world where we get kind of gapped here severe weather wise. Now, this does not mean we're not going to see severe weather. It just means that our fringe counties like Du Bois, Adair, Franklin, you guys would be most exposed to the severe weather early tomorrow and again later in the afternoon and evening tomorrow. You'll see those risk areas and future cast here in a minute. We'll explain what all that means.
Yeah, so we got a lot to go through and we'll be able to show it to you graphically. Again, you see the two timing of the rounds between 2 a.m. and 7 a.m. and then again between 1 and 8 p.m. on Saturday. Those are the two rounds of storms. Let's talk about the threats that we see with these storms. None of those are maxed out for us, and that lends itself to the fact that, you know what, our severe weather chances are fairly low in comparison to many other places. Are they zero? Clearly not. So the chance, while it has lowered a little bit, it hasn't completely gone away. Our highest threat's going to be the wind, which we have in place now, and that will only get stronger. In fact, the storms haven't moved into St. Louis, and they just recently had 58-mile-per-hour winds there. Secondary would be the tornado threat, the hail threat, followed by the flooding threat. So when we break this down, we look at where we are for late tonight, early tomorrow morning.
And you'll notice that we are all in this 2 out of 5 slight risk of severe weather, except for Du Bois County. As we indicated earlier, you guys are on our western fringe there. You're in the enhanced risk. You're a little closer to where the severe weather is really going to be active tonight, closer to Evansville and St. Louis. For us here, the bulk of our 34 counties between 2 a.m. and 7 a.m. Eastern time. For you folks in Central, we quote Eastern time here on our products here. So just keep that in mind. You'll have to do the conversion. Damaging winds, yes, there's an isolated tornado threat here, hail, and some briefly heavy rain. They're all on the docket. I don't think flooding is going to be a huge deal overnight, Kevin, because these storms will kind of be in and out so quickly. That's more of a tomorrow evening thing.
Yeah, when we talk about tomorrow's risk, it's a different timing. It's in the afternoon. We're still out of that 2 out of 5 range, the slight risk of severe weather. The timing we've pegged is between 1 and 8. Again, severe weather, not completely likely, but a few strong to severe storms are still possible. A lot of this will be dependent on what happens overnight tonight and early in the morning hours. Do we have the debris cloud cover left around? Almost all models point to that will be the case. If it is the case, that will sort of suppress the severe weather threat for the afternoon tomorrow. If it were to happen, it would likely be in the southern part of the viewing area, and it would present impacts from wind, hail, some flooding because of the heavy rain. Going to see a lot more rain tomorrow, especially in our southernmost counties and areas off to our east, and even an isolated tornado threat simply because we have the amount of shear that we have across the region. So those are the 2 rounds of storms that we talked about. Before they arrive, you still have some time. It's 8:41. You're going to want to make sure you have the Wave Weather app. Some of you are watching on that now. Others may be watching on Facebook. Here's the deal. Sometimes we're on Facebook. Sometimes we're not. Sometimes we're on YouTube. Sometimes we're not. There is one place we're always on when there's bad weather, and that is the Wave Weather app. It's a product that we can control. So we can't control Facebook. We can't control YouTube, yada, yada. Make sure you have the Wave Weather app. Not only can you go down to watch live where we're streaming, but you can also get the latest alerts. You can see what we're thinking because we type in our information. If you click on that, extended forecast on the bottom and sort of go into the daily and then look at tonight or tomorrow, you can tap on those days and it will give the discussion of what we've typed in.
Yeah, we typed this in. It's not AI driven or anything like that here. And it's a good idea, by the way, to know what county you live in and where within that county you are visually on a map. It's as easy as going to Google image search and searching Indiana counties, Kentucky counties, or maybe get some counties overlaid on a Google map, something like that, just so that you know when we call out your county, if we're in wall-to-wall coverage, we're talking about you. Did have one question here. Are we talking about Franklin County, Kentucky, or Indiana? When we mention Franklin, we're talking Kentucky. So we're talking about the 34 counties that we serve around the Louisville area when we're mentioning county names. For you folks who may be what we call out of market, if you're kind of well outside of our viewing area, we're going to be talking about these counties you see here that are all under a wind advisory.
Yeah, we have the wind advisory. It kicked in at 5 o'clock today. That will go until 8 p.m. tomorrow. We look at our current wind speeds, and we see that 25 in Jasper is the greatest wind speed in our viewing area. We have Jeffersonville at 24, but just to the west, Evansville's gusting to 33. Owensboro is at 30. But look at St. Louis.
Wow.
58-mile-per-hour winds. That's without the thunderstorms moving through. So they're getting some pretty powerful winds all across and ahead of that line of storms moving through Missouri and into Illinois. And this is what that looks like with those 2 tornado warnings that have been flagged by the National Weather Service and a series of severe thunderstorm warnings that are moving from Iowa down through almost all of Missouri into Arkansas.
Look how far west those storms are from St. Louis, and they already have a severe thunderstorm warning level wind gust of 58 miles per hour. That owes to how strong these, what we call gradient winds are along this, or I should say around this extremely powerful area of low pressure. You see it spinning around near Omaha, Nebraska, where the center of that little cinnamon swirl is right there with the rain that you see. So these storms are going to be kind of out ahead of a front that's going to be moving in our direction overnight tonight. You can almost draw in your head kind of the trajectory of where these storms are going to go as they move toward the east along this front. Now, obviously, you see drawn here that the front is ahead of the storms. It's actually behind. It's just a little bit of a misnomer there by the Weather Prediction Center. Nonetheless, this is what's driving these storms. That's why they're eventually going to hit us early tomorrow morning, but it's going to take some time, Kevin. This isn't a deal where you see these at 11 p.m. tonight. This is more like a 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 a.m. wake-up call for a lot of us.
Yeah, and weakening by that point, which is the good news.
Yes.
Now, will it completely be gone? Probably not, but certainly will be in a decaying state as it moves from west to east across our viewing area. Nonetheless, you see the watches they've put out. New watch across West Kentucky includes Paducah at this point. So that's a new tornado watch that they issued. When we were looking at the information from the Storm Prediction Center, they had declared 2 areas they were watching. One is where you see the warnings ongoing. And they said, concerning this current watch, the severe risk continues with isolated tornado potential. That was especially focused over the southern part of that watch area. So that's south of St. Louis. The other area they had sort of prescribed was the one near Memphis, and they've elected to go ahead and lift that into West Kentucky to say that thunderstorm development looked possible, and over the next coming hours, that would continue to build, and a watch was going to be needed soon. And there was an 80% chance for that. That has already been put in place. So those are the watches and warnings that we have. When we talk about these outlooks issued in many cases days in advance, you know, when we talk about the outlook or sort of the warning process, we flag days as alert days as early as we can, because we know that our viewers want the earliest alert, that first alert. So we have to be somewhat confident in it. We don't want to have to think, okay, well, 2 model runs said that it looks bad and we're going to go ahead and flag it. And then a day later, it's like, oh, well, things changed. We'll pull that down. On occasion, it works that way. But we really strive to get decent confidence and agreement before we push alert days. Sometimes we can do that many days in advance. Sometimes it's just a day or 2 in advance. And sometimes it's the day of, just hours in advance. I mean, weather changes all the time.
It does. So that's why these outlooks are adjusted as necessary. You know, I know a lot of folks don't like the fact that these maps move around and change and go up and go down, but that's the nature of meteorology. We're always making adjustments, and we can give you a more precise forecast when we get closer to time. So the Storm Prediction Center today connected both of those moderate risk areas together into one mega moderate risk. One of the bigger ones we've seen in a while here, Kev, from Des Moines basically down to Jackson, Mississippi. That's a huge area. And there's always kind of reasonings behind these large areas of risk. And in this case, the tornado threat is a pretty significant part of that. You see the 15%, but more importantly, the hatched area, meaning significant tornadoes are possible. And EF2 is possible anywhere within 25 miles of a point in that hatched area with the black lines through it there. Storm Prediction Center using that terminology to define where the tornado threat is most significant. Notice that does not include any of our area here in the Louisville metro. We're in that kind of 5% risk. So we're kind of in the third string of this, if you will, here. We're definitely not even second banana to what they're going to see out to our west here. So that's the tornado potential for tonight. And you look at the wind gust potential, and wow, that's 45%. And that's going to cover most of Illinois, Missouri, southern half of Iowa there. And that hatched area where significant wind damage is possible, it does come right up to Louisville here. But again, as Kevin indicated earlier, these storms will be weakening as they approach.
Yeah. So when we go through the sort of internal products of the outlook, the tornado possibility, the wind possibility, the hail possibility, you can see the greatest one for us is wind, which is what we said initially. So all of the cores of the storm, the targets, the bullseyes, the whatever you want to call it, will be from St. Louis to Memphis. That's the area of most concern for tonight. Tomorrow, that changes. It goes to our south. A rare high risk 2 days in advance is very rare. In fact, it's only happened 2 other times since they've been recording high risk days 2 days in advance, and it goes out to the south. This is a concerning tornado outbreak that will take place across the southern Gulf Coast states for tomorrow. So that's an area that will get a lot of attention tomorrow. And then by Sunday, slight risk pushes off the far coast. So as we look at what's happening here, there's nothing going on right now. That will change as we roll through the overnight hours. So let's talk about these ingredients of what we have coming in and why our feeling is, though, that these storms will be weakening. And we're going to walk through the concern that we need to have for some folks, but not necessarily for everybody. So we're looking at this tornado potential. And you'll notice as I put it into motion, what happened to it?
It starts to fade away with the setting sun, of course. We don't have any heat energy in the atmosphere. These storms are going to start outrunning their ingredients too. So the tornado potential for the overnight hours is somewhat low, but it's not zero. It is there. You see it peaking in a little bit of our counties there, north and west of Louisville. There it is again, but we won't have storms at 10 a.m. though. That's the problem. So the storms will already be dead and kind of off to our east, outrunning that support. Again, this tornado potential is where is there air that has tornado ingredients in it? Doesn't mean a storm is going to capitalize on those ingredients, but where is that? And notice by 2 p.m., we're not seeing this at all. So the potential rotation tracks, this is where we could have rotating thunderstorms. Notice areas to our north and west by 4:30 in the morning. That could be a problem as you start to approach the I-70 corridor. But as Kevin advances this even more, it's possible that we don't even see any of these rotation tracks really much in our area. And this gets us through the first round of severe weather.
And that, when we talk about the rotation tracks, we call that, for all the weather geeks that are watching, that's the updraft helicity. That's where we have vertical motion. And of course, we're in the rotation part of that storm as it moves forward. So sometimes it would give us an idea of where we would have a track tornado that could touch the ground. So that's why those are important to look at when we're focused on severe weather, and especially when we're focused on the potential for tornadoes. When we talk about the hail potential, again, out to our west, there is a chance, but across our area, fizzles out. Nothing too impressive as we look at that moving through. One other final piece, we can look at the power outage index. Of course, we're going to have the 35 to 45 mile per hour wind gusts. That's enough to cause a few isolated to sporadic outages anyway. And that's what you're noticing on the power outage index across our area. Not a huge deal, nothing abnormal when we have winds like this. So we go back to our timeline again, just to keep reiterating and breaking down when those storms arrive here and what to expect. 2 to 7.
It's 2 to 7 when that fading line of storms moves in from the west. Now, again, I try to keep these as 2 distinct times here. There will be a break in between. Doesn't necessarily mean it will stop raining everywhere and the sun's going to come out. But what it does mean is that the storms will overall be, pretty much tampered down for the most part. Between 7 a.m. and 1 p.m. is that break. And then round number 2 with strong storms and heavy rain would be between 1 p.m. and 8 p.m. That very well may be that second round is Saturday afternoon. That may just be heavy rain for most of us. And the severe weather threat would be more so for like Adair County, Kentucky, and especially areas to our south. That's the time frame when it's going to be rocking and rolling down in the deep south from Mississippi to Alabama, parts of Tennessee, with that severe weather outbreak. There may be so much going on down there that it siphons off some of the energy for us to see severe weather up here. Not a guarantee. There's still a chance of severe weather in our area. However, it's not all that high. And that's the good news about all of this. This is not super scary. This is something to pay attention to. And that's why we're here.
Yeah, and just another way to show that as you were talking, I just wanted to put up the timeline of this, noticing that as those storms move in overnight, there's still a small potential for strong to severe storms, especially in the western viewing area. Hang on. I know a lot of people are asking about what about my town? What about my community? I'm going to show you a map with even specific communities on it coming up in just a second. We're talking timeline and general weather conditions first. We're really methodically breaking this down so that when we're finished, hopefully nobody has a question. That would be the best thing. That means we've been able to communicate effectively what's going to happen tonight, at least the way we see it. So we're talking timeline, 2 rounds. First one comes in overnight, after midnight, most likely for Louisville around that 4, 5, 6 o'clock time frame. All right, that's round 1. A little bit of a reset. Still going to see some rain, so the rain may never completely go away, which will help us in terms of severe weather in the afternoon, meaning it will suppress the severe weather chances. And round 2 would come through with more robust rain and the possibility, small possibility, of some strong to severe storms in the afternoon or early evening. That moves through likely with some very heavy rain, especially to our south and east. So let's talk about your communities. We'll take it west of I-65 to begin with, and we'll keep this full screen so we can walk you through this between 2 a.m. and 5 a.m.
So pay attention to this map. If you live near one of these cities, this is for you. You'll notice that counties that are west of the I-65 corridor, this includes Lawrence, Orange, Du Bois, Crawford, Perry, Meade, Breckenridge, and Grayson counties. This is between 2 and 5 a.m. for you folks. This is early Saturday morning, the overnight hours, if you will. Damaging winds, isolated tornadoes and hail are possible. This zone is the highest threat level in our area. Doesn't mean that it's a high threat, absolutely not. But what it means that if you were to pick a spot in our 34 counties that has the highest chance of seeing severe weather, it would be this zone right here, that zone that's just west of course, of the I-65 corridor here. So be on alert, especially if you're in the Jasper, Ferdinand, Huntingburg area. That Du Bois County corridor there really sticks out like a sore thumb in our western counties there. You guys are also semi a part of the Evansville media market there, but we cover you too. We'll go on TV for you here in the Louisville market here with waves, severe weather coverage if necessary. You guys need to be kind of the most prepared for the severe weather overnight because you do have the potential of seeing some of the most. But again, these storms will be weakening. It's just you guys, since you're the farthest west, will see the most of the severe weather threat before it gradually fades going toward the east, toward the I-65 corridor where we are here in Louisville.
And that should arrive here between that 3 a.m. and 6 a.m. time frame, again, staying in its weakening phase. It's not like that it may weaken temporarily and then shoot back up. That won't happen. The weakening will continue as it moves to the east. There will still be a minor threat for the damaging wind, even an isolated tornado threat. We cannot rule that completely out until that fizzles out. Now, will we know that before 3 a.m.? It's possible. We just have to see how this unfolds. It's just now starting out to our west. So we'll be tracking that all night. But once the decaying of those storms begins, it will continue right into the overnight hours tonight. So that sort of rolls us through west of I-65, along the I-65 corridor, and then we push east of I-65 between that 4 a.m. and 7 a.m. time frame.
And this would really be the best place to be for the lowest severe weather threat early tomorrow morning between 4 and 7 a.m. This goes from Madison, Indiana to Carrollton to Springfield to Campbellsville. Basically, if you're in Jefferson County, Indiana, not Kentucky, you're in this zone. Trimble, Carroll, Henry, Shelby, Franklin, Kentucky. Of course, you've got Spencer County, you've got Washington, Marion, Taylor, and of course, Adair counties. Strong winds are possible, but these storms will be breaking apart. You may see some briefly heavy rain here. This version of the high-res rapid refresh model that's showing you all the pretty colors here on the map, that right there is showing us where there could be some stronger storms that try to last into these counties here. But overall, the storms will be weakening for the most part and be basically on life support when they arrive.
All right, just to sort of summarize where we are, strong winds are going to be with us. 35, 45 mile per hour winds. We already have a wind advisory for that. We look at the tornado watch that's in place. Ignore the time on that. I didn't change that. But the tornado watch stays in place until 3 a.m. Well, that's 2 a.m. our time, so that is correct. So that's a PDS tornado watch. For those saying, well, what is PDS? What's that mean? Particularly dangerous situation. The National Weather Service doesn't take that wording lightly. They'll add that to, can be a severe thunderstorm, as well. PDS. Severe thunderstorm.
They can do that. They can do flood warnings. They've put PDS on a lot of stuff. And just to give you kind of a sense of what the wording is on that for particularly dangerous situation, their headline says several tornadoes and a few intense tornadoes are likely in that watch area.
Yeah, so they reserve the wording for PDS to really come down to a situation where long-lived tornadoes are possible. Okay. That's what it means. And and I'll read it from the National Weather Service from Paducah. It says, if you get questions about what a PDS watch means, feel free to share this information. The wording is used in a tornado watch for rare situations when long-lived and intense tornadoes are likely. So that's what they're expecting out west, right? Remember, for us, decreasing as it moves in. Will they be completely gone? Too early to tell. Probably not completely gone, but they will be weakening every mile they move to the east, okay? So it's something we'll be watching closely. You see the watch comes right up to our viewing area. Doesn't include Du Bois County, doesn't include Perry County, but it gets right up to both of those.
And inevitably, the question's going to be, will we see a tornado watch here? And yes, it's possible. I don't think it will be one of these particularly dangerous situations or PDS tornado watches, but it's possible some of our counties, especially west of I-65, could get placed under one of those early tomorrow morning. So don't be scared when you see that come out. Just know what county you're in, know if you're in that, and be prepared. NOAA Weather Radio, the #1 way to get alerted to overnight severe weather when you are sleeping.
Let's walk through our forecast model showing these storms as they arrive. This is midnight. We are still in the clear. There's no rain across the area. The clouds may even be broken. We notice that those thunderstorms will be increasing as they start to march off to the east, and we see those storms pushing in, but they're breaking up. So instead of it being a line of storms or individual supercells, we start to see it becoming a little more crumbled, if you will. And here we are at 6:30 in the morning. They're pushing through. They're much weaker to the north, still a few strong storms to the south, even as we cross into the 7 a.m. hour. Moving off to the east, we still have rain. Some areas don't relinquish the rain even through the morning. So here we are at 10 o'clock. Tough to see severe weather at this time because our severe weather ingredients aren't in place at that point, though we do have some rain across the area. Most of this will not be severe. This is some very heavy rain that's pushing in during the afternoon. And by this point, we are starting to see at least a little bit of the severe potential. But again, it's a little bit, and it's mainly to our south. that morning cloud cover should really prohibit the severity of what we would see unfold Saturday otherwise. And what also will preclude it will be the storms to the south, robbing some of the energy needed for us for tomorrow. And then we continue with heavy rain moving off to the east. That will continue through the afternoon and evening hours, gradually coming to an end on Sunday, but not before putting down several inches of rainfall for some in our southern communities.
So if you're looking for the highest chance of severe weather tomorrow afternoon between that 1 to 8 p.m. time frame, it'd be down toward Adair County, where you guys would be kind of the farthest south in our area, most exposed to a few strong to possibly severe storms during the afternoon hours. We will likely see some changes in the Storm Prediction Center's outlook for tomorrow. Once we get to tomorrow, once we get this initial line of storms out of the way early tomorrow morning, they'll be able to sample the atmosphere, figure out if things are going to refire, where that's going to be. So don't hold in your head the image that we're in this 2 out of 5 slight risk tomorrow evening necessarily. That may get trimmed down to a fewer counties than what we have right now. So keep that in mind. There are changes that will happen between right now and tomorrow afternoon, because this line of storms moving through late tonight that you see out to our west, that will move through and cause a few little changes to happen based on what kind of atmosphere it leaves behind there.
Okay, so I've put up the satellite, the radar. I've got the warnings overlaid on it. We'll leave this up while we take some of your questions.
There are a lot of those.
And we'll do our best to answer those the best we can. And then we'll come back and take a look at what we expect in terms of rainfall totals and some of the other things that will take us into the rest of the weekend and beyond. We've got the 10-day forecast to share with you, too.
All right, let's get to one here that caught my attention. This is Truly King there on YouTube. Thanks for watching again there, Truly. Isn't there an alert that should come on our phone when these things happen? Yes and no. Here's the deal. They have what are called wireless emergency alerts, WEA alerts, and they're government mandated alerts that go to your cell phones, and the emergency managers in each county are responsible for putting those out. Now, sometimes the cell networks go down during severe weather. Sometimes the internet goes out, things go wrong. So you want to have a backup. That's why we always say to have the Wave Weather app and to have a NOAA Weather radio, because the NOAA Weather radio doesn't depend on cell towers. It's a terrestrial radio transmitter network of over 800 towers throughout the United States here. So it's designed to be a really solid backup plan to not only wake you up, because sometimes your phone doesn't wake you up at night, but to also be a dependable source of severe weather information if the internet goes out, if your power's out, has battery backup, et cetera, et cetera. That's my sermon about NOAA Weather Radio.
Yeah, every home should have one. There's no doubt. Other questions we have, are you thinking a PDS watch just west of us will expand? That's from Andrea. It's not out of the question, but just remember, it depends on when the decaying phase of these storms start. We're not expecting these storms to arrive in Louisville until after 3 or 4 in the morning. By that point, they will certainly have entered the decaying phase, and I would suspect that we could see a watch issued for areas west of I-65. Will it be a PDS? Could be. Just depends sort of what happens between now and then, and the Weather Service will make that call. I wouldn't get caught up in whether it is a PDS or not. The fact is, and we say that about the outlooks, we're like, you know what, at this point, it doesn't really matter where we are in the outlook. The fact is, severe weather is ongoing, and if it's still going at midnight, when you watch us at 11 o'clock, if we have major storms ongoing in West Kentucky, then it's a little concerning that, it takes a little while for them to ease down. But I suspect that by the time they reach us early in the morning hours, the concern will be much lower than what it is out near Paducah.
Austin's asking about the flooding concern, asking us to comment about kind of the concern overall. Initially, with this line of storms moving through early tomorrow morning, no, it'll be moving through so fast, I think we won't have a problem. It also hasn't rained like super heavy in a bit here. I know we did have that one rogue storm in southern Jefferson County and Bullitt yesterday.
The hail.
Holy hail, Batman. I know that was a thing, but thankfully we've had some time since then. Our groundwater is starting to recede because of that. But by tomorrow night, there may be some, especially in southern Kentucky, where we could pick up several inches of rain. And we'll show those rainfall total forecasts here in just a few minutes once we get a little bit of a question and answer session under our belt here.
All right. Yeah. So that rain, a real problem to the south and east more so than here. I mean, if you really look at everything combined, we're sort of easing out of, of a big problem here, right? These strong storms out to our west are going to fade as they move in. Tomorrow, as the storms start to ramp up, the morning clouds help us out, whereas areas down across Mississippi and Alabama are just going to get hammered. And that could come all the way into parts of Tennessee. But for us, looks like we may luck out there. For the rain, the forward motion of most of these will be carrying that rain with it, but some areas are going to get decent rain, but I don't suspect we're going to see a massive flood across the Commonwealth. So we sort of luck out there. So we're in a pretty good spot, I think, in terms of what really is happening around us.
So we've got a question from Sherry, and she echoes
a
lot of people's concerns here about sleeping overnight tonight. Are we going to be able to get some sleep tonight when these storms are moving through between that 2 and 7 a.m. time frame here?
Yeah, I mean, the answer is yes, get some sleep, but you have to have a way to be notified. So this shouldn't take people's sleep unless the weather alarm goes off for your community. Obviously, if you are scared of storms, and I know what that's like, I was scared of storms as a kid. So the number one way to beat that is with knowledge and to just be prepared. How are you prepared? Well, you have an alarm that goes off if it's for your area during the middle of the night. So, in terms of, are you going to get sleep? That's up to you. If I weren't working, I would be getting sleep because I know that my weather alarm is going to go off if I need it.
Kyle's asking about a drive to Disney World in Orlando, Florida tomorrow.
Good place to go.
How much tornadic activity should we expect? Well, one tip here. Do not take I-65 south of Nashville tomorrow. Bad idea. Stay on I-75. Yes, I know Atlanta's no fun, but you got to go through there. Stay as far east of this mess as you can here. The earlier you leave, the better, and that will help you to avoid this mess by the time it gets into Georgia. So leave early, avoid I-65 south of Nashville. Once you're getting on 24, getting toward Chattanooga, you're starting to trend eastward towards safety away from this thing. You won't be completely out of the woods, but I do not want to find myself in the state of Alabama tomorrow afternoon. Full stop. It is that kind of a situation. Monique is asking about her travel plans, Indiana to Wichita, Kansas in the morning. So obviously you're going to be along I-70 there for quite a bit of time there. Best time to leave. Honestly, if you can leave after about, say, 8, 9 o'clock, you'll be fine because that initial line of storms will be through and you'll easily avoid the stuff to our south. So you actually have a pretty easy go of it there. Kevin, it looks like we've got a new tornado warning there just southwest of St.
Coming
Louis.
into St. Louis. So we're watching that, and a tornado watch for parts of Indiana and Illinois.
Doesn't look like
one that was the 3 a.m. So that was the same one we had.
Yep.
In addition to that, I'm just watching some of our sister stations' coverage that was going on out to the west, and then I'm sure KMOV, our sister station out of St. Louis, will be tracking that next line. So we'll kind of cue that up. Let me go back to a few more of your questions here. And sorry, I'm having to
doing three things at once.
Scroll through some of them. So Brian Carla is saying, so could a tornado form and move from the higher risk area into the lower risk area? Absolutely. And that's important to note too. I mean, the moderate risk, or in tomorrow's case, the high risk area, is sort of if we narrow it down, it's where the most ingredients are. It's the highest likelihood of where they would be. But we can have tornadoes in a slight risk area. We can have tornadoes when there's no risk area. So, typically we have a little bit of heads up, but sometimes not so much. But the fact is, yes, they can move into the lower categorical risk areas.
Yeah, that does happen. You often have like a marginal risk that has a few tornado reports and you go, really? But a marginal risk is still a risk. So don't even take that super lightly. It's still like hey, got to keep an eye out, pay attention. If you get a warning, take cover sort of situation even then.
All right. We jump in. We look back at a few more viewers. A lot of people are asking for specific counties and towns. And the fact is, we've gone through that. You can go back and rewatch this on our social media. We've been talking about the PDS tornado watch that now extends across West Kentucky, parts of Southwest Indiana, Illinois. That will be something that we're watching through the night. That's obviously where we see on the radar the strongest of the storms that we have. And that will be moving up towards St. Louis. And that's clearly why our sister station in St. Louis is on the air. Let's jump in and listen to Steve Templeton covering the severe weather, moving closer to the St. Louis metro area.
Masconet County. This is northwestern Crawford County, and then this is Franklin County, and that is Sullivan. We've been tracking it into Sullivan, giving you time, but just know that you're now in a tornado warning. So there may be some people that heard me say Sullivan and others who just got in and are watching TV or watching the live stream on the First Alert 4 weather app and just wondering what's going on because they heard the sirens, they just got in. Here's what's going on. 2 areas of rotation. Both have the potential to be a tornado. This is the new one that would be coming towards Sullivan and southern Franklin County. And this one has a history of doing damage. This one does not have a history of doing damage and doesn't look quite as strong, but still a tornado warning. Because it doesn't look quite as strong, this red box right here has not been expanded. And that's why Steelville, you're not in a tornado warning yet, but I need you at the ready, okay? All right, so that's the big picture. Let's zoom in. Before I do that, let me see what this is. Tornado watch was expanded. Okay, so some of our friends in Illinois were not in the tornado watch at first. You are now. We've got 4 million people in a tornado watch. It's 8:10 at night. We've been on for a while now. Why are we covering up programming? Tornado watch, high-end threat. 4 million people are impacted by this and in the watch. And anyone in Illinois that wasn't in the watch originally now is.
Again, you're listening to Steve Templeton, one of our colleagues out of St. Louis. Steve and I went to Purdue together. We were just on a call the other day. All of us were talking about partially what's coming our way today. So they are watching that as those storms make their way closer to St. Louis. This is, again, if you're just tuning into us, the power of Gray Media is that we can check in with a lot of our colleagues that have been watching. Not only St. Louis, but we were watching Springfield, Missouri earlier. They're on with wall-to-wall storm coverage as well.
Yeah, so we've got 113 TV stations here, and Gray Media allows us to kind of show you the full breadth of all the severe weather here. You'll see on the radar at this time, we do have another tornado warning in north central Arkansas and a severe thunderstorm warning with a tornado possible tag west of Poplar Bluff there. So this is starting to light up.
It will be the beginning of what will become a number of new tornado warnings that just keep popping out, especially as we start to increase that low-level jet. We're going to increase the shear. This will be the case through the rest of the evening and even into the overnight as we track those storms into West Kentucky and eventually start to decrease the intensity of those storms as they move closer to us.
Yeah, we're looking through some of your comments here this evening. So many folks are asking about their individual towns, and we just can't discuss that because we'd be here for 8 hours if we were to go through everybody's towns.
Let me just summarize. If you're west of I-65, you need to pay more attention to those east of I-65. That's really the dividing line. If you're west of I-65 and the further west you are, closer to western Kentucky, the more you need to pay attention. So that's sort of the bottom line on that is these storms will be gradually weakening, but to say they'll be completely weakened would not be prudent to say. So we're still going to have to watch this. And it's a sort of an audible as the night goes on. Hopefully we see the weakening trend by 1 or 2 in the morning and say, everybody go to bed. Brian, good. You don't have to worry about coming in the middle of the night. Kevin, you can go home and get some sleep. Carson, get ready for the sunrise show. Things look better. But I don't know if that's going to be the case. That would be the perfect scenario. Odds are we're going to have to be tracking these storms. There will likely be still a few warnings moving into West Kentucky, certainly, and maybe into the western part of our viewing area before they completely weaken out as they move across I-65.
Sherry Mills says, hey, please tell people to bring their pets inside tonight. Yes, please do that. Make sure your pets have a warm and dry place to be during these storms. And when I heard Kevin Harned say audible just now, that was probably the first sports reference you've ever properly made in your life.
That might be true. Maybe the last.
Wow. I'm over here like, I don't even know what that means, but I think that's right.
All right. Let's see. I thought we had a few other questions, and we can punch up some of the mesoscale analysis. So for the weather geeks out there, and I know we have a few in here because I saw it, and I'm trying to go back and find it. So
while Kevin's doing that,
bear with
then
me
I'll
here.
start showing some of the nerdy stuff here that you guys may want to see here. If I can remember my key shortcuts to get this full screen for us. And let's see.
Some folks are saying Saturday could be concerning. Definitely concerning to our south. Saturday, I think, packs less of a punch for us than tonight will in some cases. So whether that just be the wind that all of us are faced with or the potential for a few strong storms west of I-65.
All right, so what I'm pulling up now, and you're going to see it literally pop in between us, is the SPC mesoanalysis page here. And it basically is a way for us to keep track of the real-time severe weather indices, data, quick model runs here, radar, surface observations. There's so much you can do with this here. And it's kind of an amazing tool. It's been out for, gosh, about 15 years now. But what you can see is this right here is the supercell composite. What I'm showing you here from Missouri to Arkansas is the 20 on that index, that parameter right here. That's high. That means that these storms across the southern part of Missouri and the northern part of Arkansas have a lot of severe weather ingredients, and the supercells will be very healthy and potentially going to produce tornadoes. And you see that as a current view. If we advance that forward, you see how it still stays pretty beefy through the next 4 hours, and then in 6 hours it starts to drop. So it goes from a 20 down to a 16, and we start to see those parameters drop then.
We'll keep that up and we'll answer a few more questions. We've got some folks chiming in. I have a meet and greet with Joe Gatto tomorrow night in Cincinnati. We'll be driving in from Sellersburg. I wish I was going with you. He is hilarious. You ever watch Impractical Jokers?
I don't. So
No.
I'm over here like, what is this?
Yeah,
right?
he's one of those guys. He's hilarious. Tracy, the question is tomorrow night, sure, you may be running through some rain, but the threat of severe weather from Sellersburg to Cincinnati should be, by tomorrow night, really non-existent, but probably we'll see some rain.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a pretty good assessment of that.
Let's see. Sarah really sums it up for everybody. We just need to be alert, ready, and have a plan. Well, that's it. That we don't even need to be here anymore if everybody would just follow along with that. And I know Chris Bowles was asking some question, and for the life of me, because we get so many, because what happens is, just so you know, because some people might just be on one of our Facebook pages and say, well, there's only 6 comments. What are you talking about? Fact is, we're aggregating all of your comments in. So when we're looking at these, there are hundreds of them.
From YouTube, from Facebook, from Twitch, etc.
Yeah, every Facebook account, not just one. Every Twitch, well, we only have one Twitch account, but every X account. So that's why it's a little tougher. So I'm looking for some of the comments that I had seen earlier. The number one question Tamika is asking is a number of people. Is Louisville going to see a tornado tonight? The odds are very low, but not zero. All right. When we were talking about some of the modeling, and at this point, the models are somewhat helpful in the high resolution world, but once these storms are starting to fire, we throw the models out and it just comes down to nowcasting on what these storms are doing. And the fact is, we know we have storms on the ground that are doing damage by wind. And that's what we're watching across the area, not just here, but even in parts of St. Louis. So Steve is taking a look at that now.
What that looks like when we analyze that rotation. Kristen, thanks for mentioning that right away too.
Sure.
Some of you will hear that voice that's familiar.
There's a tag on that warning that says radar indicated.
Yeah, we know her very well.
Kristen Cornett worked at HAS for a while.
Confirmed, just radar
She's been in St. Louis for many years.
So this is going to be south, at least for now. It's
now
south
she's one of her
Highway
coworkers
50 in central Gasconade County. I'm going to put
so you can see the
circle around where
rotation on that
radar
showing up,
just
where we can really take a closer view and show that rotation that Steve has pointed out. We call that the gate-to-gate rotation on the radar. Green going toward the radar, red going away. And anytime you get a couplet like that, that's an indicator that we do have strong rotation. And there has been damage reported out of this storm as it moves up near US 50. This is just off to the west of Gerald and just north of Canaan in Missouri. So this is not in our area. This is way out in Missouri. You're watching KMOV a Gray Media station right in the heart of St. Louis. And you can see that storm. Whew.
That's pretty tight. That tightened up in one scan really well like that. And that's going to be kind of the trend for tonight. Things that tighten up very quickly and get aggressive very quickly like that.
I would say the town that he just put on there, New Haven, but that's my hometown in Kentucky, not in Missouri.
Right. Every state
like,
has the same town names and county names, and you can transplant from one to the next. So it's a little confusing. We get it. We're showing an out-of-market severe weather stream here.
Yeah, but it's good to see what's happening out there. Ours won't be this robust, but nonetheless, you can see how the storm system is just now cranking up and a number of tornado warnings. In fact, there are several now on the map from where we were earlier. So let's just listen in for just a little bit longer as Steve tracks this. I'm curious to see how much damage they may have had. Steve Templeton, KMOV, St. Louis.
Getting up into New Haven in about 23 minutes. So Herman would
New
be
Haven,
up here.
Missouri.
Washington would be a little farther to the east. There's New Haven, 23 minutes. We'll see if it holds its intensity. It's a real tight and small area. It's not a real big, bad signature. That's the good news. So this to me looks like kind of a lower end, but still a potential tornado that can maybe even take off a roof or do some damage in New Haven in about 20 minutes. If it holds that intensity, you see some of the other cities in the path of the storm. Let's switch back over to the
All right, we'll come back out to us, and we'll come back to Steve a little later on. We are monitoring what our sister stations are doing across Missouri and down into Arkansas. A number of tornado warnings that are in place back out to our west, along with a series of severe thunderstorm warnings.
Yeah, and we'll put up some of those severe thunderstorm warnings here and tornado warnings. You can see the wide view basically going from north of Little Rock all the way to west to St. Louis.
Ashley's asking, will we be able to get the Triple Crown 10K race in tomorrow morning? Good question. I do think that if there is a gap, that it will probably be around that time through the early morning hours. Might get delayed just a bit, but somewhere around that time of 8, 9 o'clock, we may see a little bit of a gap.
Yeah, let's cross our fingers on that. That's going to be an hour-by-hour thing. We'll have to see how fast the storms are once they get here. It's hard to make that call when they're still west of St. Louis at this time.
Yeah, and in addition to the race that we have, the road race, we also have Racing Louisville at home. Will that game take place? All on schedule for now. But again, that's a 5 o'clock game. By that point, we still have rain expected. Wouldn't worry about the rain, obviously, but it's the lightning that could cause some problems if we have that this far north.
Right, because here in Louisville, it wouldn't be so much the severe weather we're as concerned about. That would be a little farther to our south, closer to Adair County. It's more so the rain.
Rose is asking, who's going to be at the station weather-wise through the next 24 hours?
Everyone.
Yeah, we're here.
Literally.
We're not going anywhere. We will all be here for different shifts. I'll stay until around 5 or 6 in the morning. Brian will come in and relieve me with Carson. So Carson comes in at midnight. Ryan and Tawana are scheduled to come in tomorrow. And Carson, he's working his shift, so he'll be here all weekend. And we'll be here as long as we need to be here. That's the beautiful part about teamwork. So that's our plan.
Yeah, so we want to make sure that you're covered both here on, our connected TV platforms like Wave Weather Now, our 24/7 local weather live stream. We're the only one in the Louisville area for that, by the way. And of course on TV, Wave TV. Anytime there's a tornado warning in our 34 counties, we go on the air on both Wave TV and Wave Weather Now.
Kathy's asking, why would a tornado watch alert already go out on the weather radio in Lawrence County? And I'm assuming that's Lawrence County, Indiana.
Right. And you guys are very close by to where there is a tornado watch at this time. That would be basically to your west. And so you're close enough that you've probably heard about a tornado watch. But again, listen for the counties that are included in that. And you'll find, of course, that Lawrence is probably not included in it at the moment. That may very well change, though, as we go through time. So keep that in mind here, that you're going to hear about watches. You're going to hear about warnings. You're going to see us post about watches and warnings. You have to know where you live in relativity to those watches and warnings, and pay attention to the list of counties. Pay attention to, the red boxes, the yellow boxes that you're going to see on TV or on social media. If you're in that, you're in the warning or watch. And if you're not, then you're probably adjacent to it or outside of that. So keep that in mind. This is a little bit of a geography game. I know folks may not be as clued in on maps as we are. We get that. We totally get that. Some folks may be new to our area as well. So if you're new to the area, make sure you know what county you live in, what part of the county that would be in as well, so that when things happen and you see our maps, you'll know exactly what's going on.
I've overlaid the watches and the warnings so you can see that Lawrence County is very close, comes right up to you. So
on the edge.
And if you have any other county programmed in around you, maybe that would be the reasoning behind it. So that's that answer. All right, let's see if we have any others that are coming up. That was the one for Lawrence County. A lot of people are saying, so what about my county? Again, if west of I-65, you're going to have to pay attention, through the night. Make sure you can get a warning. East of I-65, looks like it's going to be weakening. What's the biggest risk for Louisville and tomorrow afternoon?
For Louisville, the biggest risk is going to likely be heavy rain, lightning, and some wind here. Tomorrow afternoon between 1 and 8 p.m., we've got all of that. And the higher severe weather threats will be to our west overnight and to our south tomorrow afternoon. Doesn't mean it's zero in Louisville, but that's where the higher threats are.
Sherry says, is there going to be lots of tornadoes? Love you guys. Fact is, there will be lots of tornadoes. Likely not here, but tonight to our west, tomorrow well to our south. Mississippi and Alabama being that target zone, perhaps even some up into Tennessee tomorrow. But the odds of them here are very low, both tonight and again for tomorrow.
And this is going to be a big deal for the South. Alabama, Mississippi, big tornado outbreak down there.
And that's their parts tomorrow.
Yeah, tomorrow afternoon.
Braden is asking, do you think this is a sign of things to come for the spring severe weather season in central Kentucky? The fact is we're in the La Nina season, and we look at patterns and we see where we've been through the winter and where we are now. And yeah, in the short term that we can tell, we've got a lot of ups and downs, and it's that push and pull that is a disturbance because nature likes to be balanced. It's rarely ever the case that we're totally balanced. In fact, that doesn't happen, but it's rare to see these extreme swings, and that's what sort of throws us off. But the fact is, yes, I think for the next month, we have active weather. Will that continue into what typically would be our most active months of April and May? Still a little early to say, but it's possible. So I don't think we're going to escape without seeing a severe weather season, that's for sure. But will it be, worse than a typical severe weather season? Tough to say once we get into May, but certainly through the rest of March, it looks active.
It's a very amplified pattern right now, meaning you have lots of extremes between warm and cold air in the atmosphere, troughs to our west, ridges to our east. That's when you get severe weather like this. And that's why Kevin was saying, for about the next month, we're going to be kind of in the trenches here, every week or two, trying to track these systems as they move through. And typically, it's March, April, May is kind of our severe weather season here. And it starts to pare back somewhat during June, but it doesn't totally go away. You can have severe weather in the Louisville area all 12 months of the year. It is possible here, but it just becomes more common when you're heading into this time of year. You're getting out of the kind of the depths of winter and getting into the first part of spring. And that's when severe weather season typically wakes up around here. We are no stranger to severe weather, of course, in this part of the country this time of year. I do want to pull up KMOV real quick. They've got multiple homes damaged in fires, potentially by lightning. I'm not quite sure there, but they're calling this a breaking weather alert. And that's, kind of in the St. Louis area there, though. So just wanted to give you that little breaking update that I saw kind of run across my screen here from this evening. So, even if you don't get a tornado, you can still have other types of severe weather, like lightning is not technically a severe thunderstorm warning criteria maker, but it can be very dangerous. You see the hail here in Licking, Missouri that they're showing right now from our sister station, First Alert 4 there. Wow. KMOV. That's some big stuff, bigger than quarter size. That is certainly what we call severe hail and would cause a severe thunderstorm warning. So those folks are getting rocked out there, and these are the storms that will move through here after 2 a.m., but they will be weakening as they arrive. So we won't see the full sort of borer outbreak that they're seeing out there. They've even got some structure damage. I'll pop this up one more time here. You'll see that looks like some sort of outbuilding barn type structure there has been
And that's at a
knocked
high
over.
school.
Yeah, that's what it looks like. Rockwood Summit High School there. Likely in Missouri, and that outbuilding looks like it was knocked off of its footings there in the concrete, kind of like a picnic pavilion, if you will, the way that looks out there in Missouri. So these storms are already doing damage. They're putting down large hail. The winds outside of the storms, especially east of those storms, doing a little bit of damage themselves. We were talking about earlier in this broadcast here that St. Louis had a 58-mile-per-hour wind gust before the storms even got close by. So that's a severe thunderstorm level wind gust outside of a thunderstorm. We're a little concerned about that here in our area tonight as well. That's why we've got the wind advisory and the alert day going already. Now, the storms won't move until after 2 a.m., but with those wind gusts outside of the storms, upwards of 40, 45, maybe even 50 miles per hour in some cases, especially if you're driving a high-profile vehicle, that can be kind of tricky. So we want to make sure you guys are prepared for very strong winds overnight. Typically, our strongest winds are during the daytime, but in this kind of situation, the pressure gradient is tightening during the overnight hours, and that's helping to get those gradient wind gusts outside of the thunderstorms to really perk up there without even having the sun to mix up the atmosphere to give us some of the higher gusts that we're typically used to in the afternoons during the springtime. So we're getting into one of our windiest months of the year, and this is certainly a very windy setup here.
I was just looking, Brian's chiming in from home, so I was looking at some of the same data he was. In terms of what the Weather Service, they've just issued one of their discussions a few minutes ago, and frankly, I'll just read it to you. So it's conditions remain dry, very mild and breezy, winds gusting over 30, upstream a broken line of severe storms. And let me put those back on so you can see the radar view. That's the line of broken severe storms that they're watching, including supercells in progress across much of Missouri into northwest Arkansas. They're also monitoring the beginning of the convective initiation along the Mississippi River. That's closer to the Arkansas, Mississippi, or Missouri border, Mississippi border, so it's further to the south. But confidence is lower on how exactly this activity may evolve. Based on recent model runs, we think that the storm developing along that border could initially strengthen in the favorable environment, move quickly northeast into western Tennessee. However, if and when they arrive in western Kentucky, this activity may struggle as the storms outrun the better low-level moisture and instability. It seems like these storms could weaken substantially prior to reaching our western Kentucky counties, or perhaps a few leading cells just get absorbed by the main convective line to the west. Regardless, the main severe risk tonight will be quite late, well after midnight, and tied to the primary convective line already in progress. A strong low-level moisture plume, as noted across eastern Missouri, immediately ahead of that line of supercells. Even with increasing low-level stability in the near term, between now and about 1 a.m., the substantial low-level moisture advection and instability immediately preceding the primary line will maintain at least slight risk for severe weather in areas west of I-65. The greatest concern is for scattered, damaging wind gust, which could cause some power outages. So that's essentially what we've been saying.
Yep.
The Weather Service has chimed in with their thoughts. Matching. We all look at the same data. They're looking at models. We're looking at models. All of us looking at, for the most part, the same models. So.
Story time with Kevin Harned, everyone.
Well, that was me just reading their story. Little kids, welcome in. Let's get ready for bed tonight.
They had no pictures, though.
Right.
Uncle
Well,
Kevin.
we've got a radar. What more do you want? That's the best you can see, right?
That's true.
Yeah, it is. All right. Any more questions? That was, I just wanted to read that since we're on just sort of killing time here. Nothing is going to happen here, by the way. We're not on because there's a bunch of severe weather moving into our area.
Not right now, at least, not in the next few hours.
No,
it's going to take a long time to get here.
Yeah. So you might, set the alarm and come back at 3 a.m. and we might be tracking something moving a little closer to us.
Yeah.
But for now, we're just sort of having fun watching what's happening here and the new tornado warnings that are popping back out to the west, sort of enclosing in on St. Louis. I'm going to punch back up
Quick update here from the National Weather Service in Indianapolis. Just came across my Slack here with NWSND. Tornado or severe thunderstorm watches are possible farther east in Indiana tonight as storms cross through the state, although the intensity should be decreasing from west to east. So we are, along with the SPC, will be monitoring this threat and collaborating. So we were talking about like Lawrence, Jackson, Jennings counties. Those 3 counties are in Indianapolis area. We're talking about you folks. Possibility of a watch, but they're doing the wait and see approach, much like I believe Louisville is going to be doing here, coordinating with the Storm Prediction Center in Norman, Oklahoma, with any sort of watch issuance this evening.
Well, and Indiana will be first to see the storms. You can see how that top part of that sort of the preceding part. So that will come into Indiana first, especially around or just south of Indianapolis. So they'll have it. You can see the orientation of the line goes, well, take that off. It's sort of like that. So that means Indiana gets it first, and then eventually it comes into Louisville, then Bowling Green, and so forth. So just because of the orientation of that line of storms wrapped around that area of low pressure, sort of like that comma hook, that makes sense, right? So they're in the, they'll have more energy because they've been closer to the sunlight and sunset time. That makes sense.
Yeah,
right?
It does, which is it's good that all the Weather Service offices and our thoughts are all kind of in sync here. It means you've got a, it may not be the most certain forecast, but at least everybody's kind of on a level playing field here, which means that us bouncing ideas off of each other here is resulting in the same type of forecast. So that's always a good thing. That makes you feel good as a forecast.
Well, Melissa's asking a good question. Is this storm big enough of a threat to go somewhere else if we live in a mobile home in the Bullitt County area? That's a good question. We're going to have winds 35 to 45 miles an hour. We're probably already seeing that. Our latest wind is...
We actually don't have a gust at the airport.
No
right
gust,
now,
but
so
it looks like it's about 13 miles an hour. I don't know if tonight's that night. I think you're going to be okay in Bullitt County tonight. I would have a way to get the warning. And if that warning goes off, then, so maybe have a plan of somewhere to go in case you get the warning. And then you can go somewhere. But I to say this is an outbreak for areas along and east of I-65, that wouldn't be the case. Can you play it uber safe and do it that way? Well, sure. That would be the safest bet. Would I do it? No, I would say, you know what? If the warning goes off, I've got plan A to go here, and I'm going to stay in my place until that happens. So that's the way I would handle that.
And we've seen this save lives before with mobile homes, folks having a plan to go to a neighbor's, house with a foundation, a sturdy structure, a basement somewhere. Saw it happen in New Middletown, Indiana in 2018, 2 families, 2 mobile homes. They both evacuated to a safe spot and mobile homes got destroyed. They were fine. So just keep that in mind as we're heading into severe weather season. It's a good idea to always be prepared.
Be prepared, not scared.
Yes.
Right?
It's always a good idea.
I'm looking,
especially this time of year, guys.
Carrie's chiming in. I-65 runs right through Louisville, so are folks like me west of I-65.
No. We're not splitting hairs like that there, I promise here. When we say the corridor,
we're just trying to give an idea.
If I-65 is within 20 miles of you, you're in the corridor, right? If you're pretty far from I-65, you're outside of that corridor, all right? So even if you are like PRP, Valley Station, heck, even Harrison County and Floyd County, you're kind of the I-65 corridor here. If you ever see that in some of our wording, all right, we're not splitting hairs by the hundreds of feet away you are from I-65. Severe weather doesn't stop at interstates. It doesn't care where they are, but we use them as a marker. Oh, wow.
We've again, looking at what's happening across parts of Missouri. You saw the radar view, what it was looking like, and this is a live picture. Carolyn Hecker is on the phone. We'll listen in.
We're going to speak with some fire officials here in a moment to see how much they've been battling down here in South St. Louis County. But this situation in Lee May is under control. Thankfully, firefighters able to prevent this fire from spreading. Guys.
All right, Caroline, we'll check back in here with you soon. Let's get you back over to Steve for a look at these storm tracks.
Thank you very much, guys. All right, so we've big picture here. We've got this line of thunderstorms with a bunch of warnings. If I haven't been mentioning your town, it's because you
So you can
might have
see
severe
all
thunderstorm
warnings
going on,
lined
but
up
either
with
it's not a
tornadoes
high
coming
one that's
right into the St. Louis metro area. So scary situation because a lot of those storms have been producing damage, whether that was from wind or an actual tornado that was on the ground, doesn't really matter. But the fact is we have seen the signatures on the radar that have shown the intense rotation. And now, of course, that line moving right into St. Louis. Steve's putting a track on that, moving close to 60 miles an hour, roughly about 40 miles away. You can see it takes it right into St. Louis in about 43 minutes from now, which we're just now at 40 after, so about, 20 after 10?
Yeah, which would be 20 after 9 Central Time there in
Right.
the St. Louis Metroplex. So they're getting pretty close to seeing some ugly weather in a city of 2+ million people there. So that's not fun, certainly this evening, especially at night when it's so hard to see.
I know that this will be, you'll be interested to see this since this is what you're talking about right now. He's mentioning the very tight rotation near Stanton specifically, saying that this could drop a tornado at any moment.
Okay.
And then a second really tight rotation signature moving just north of New Haven. Same thing there, could drop a tornado at any
And
moment.
again, that's New Haven,
Okay.
Missouri.
So we've got one in Stanton. That's going to be the one that was north of Sullivan. And then the one that was headed towards New Haven, I think we mentioned that like 23 minutes ago. Let me switch over to the kind of Christmas tree colors, and I can see them right there. It's very obvious. I'll highlight them for you. This is the one that was north of Sullivan. And we're hearing from the Weather Service, this is such a strong signature, it could drop a tornado at
Look at
any
that.
moment.
That's
And
pretty
then
ugly
here's
right
another
there.
tight signature.
We can see
right
those
over New
same
Haven.
images
That's
that he's
northwestern
looking at. And
Franklin
I'll
County.
zoom into
So those are our two
radar here.
strongest areas of rotation. You're looking at the Ford Skycam network from Sullivan
I'd
right
have
now.
to turn that
Cloudy
on.
skies, dark, obviously, but sometimes when that lightning lights up and we're looking to the north, we're going to continue to have to move that camera to the northeast. Kent's nodding. He's like, I got it.
Yeah.
Of course you do. Thank you, Kent. I appreciate it. And we'll just kind of continue to monitor it. If the lightning lights up, maybe we can see a little of that rotation that's out near Stanton.
Of New Haven on the radar now.
There it is. It's tiny. Let me go back and forth here and see if I got anything in Stanton. I don't. Okay. Right here. See that little tiny dot? I know it's not much, but when you couple it up with everything we're seeing and the tornado signature over New Haven, that's debris. New Haven, Missouri, northwestern Franklin County, debris tracker showing tornado in the air. Tornado lofting debris in the air. It's actually just northwest of New Haven. Now that I'm zooming in, we switch over to the, yes. Okay, so this is going to head right towards Pinckney. If you're in Marthasville, this is going to miss you. If you're in Warrenton, boy, you want to watch this one closely, although I think it may, as I look at the
We're just watching along with you guys as we see the data coming in from the radars out of Missouri. You can see those tight couplets. There are two of them that they're tracking. You saw the CC, the correlation coefficient. That was a measure of debris that the radar can see. Anytime you notice that, it's where, as Steve pointed out, where something odd that the radar sees has been lofted into the air. Oftentimes that's structures or parts of structures that the radar sees and bounces that beam back. And both of those are taking aim on parts of St. Louis. One will go north of the city, the further one south, the one just west of St. Clair.
This is the one that was north of Sullivan. Let's switch over to the warnings, and what you'll notice is they expanded that warning. There's the red tornado box. They expanded that warning all the way into St. Louis County and St. Charles County. So sirens
there's
are
the new
going
warning.
off. The emergency alert system, which is the cell phones, are blaring and going off. And that rotation
Coming right into the western part of St. Louis.
right here. And it is rather strong. It may look small, it may look tiny, but it is rather strong right there north of, it's coming right at St. Clair. We told you, by the way, in that other one, the rotation's northwest of New Haven, not on New Haven proper. I just want to make sure that that's clear. If you're in New Haven, sure, stay in your shelter.
Again,
Let
he's
that
talking
thing
about
go
New
to the
Haven,
north into
Missouri.
Warren
I
County.
keep having to
This
say
one's
that
coming
because
at the
they have
Union to
duplicate
St. Clair
town names
area.
that we have
And
here
if
in
I
our
push it
area.
northeast, at about 55 to 60
Looks like we
miles
did
per
have
hour.
That was
It's
the
kind of right
arch,
in that
yeah.
Highway 47, not
Something
the 47
blurry there,
bridge up
yeah.
near Washington.
That's St.
This is
Louis,
much farther
too.
south, but in Franklin County, in between Union and St. Clair. That is a strong signature. Let me see what that looks like. on the
Wow.
debris
That, I mean,
signature.
he's tracking one heck
Starting to
of
get
a
a little
signature
bit.
there.
Did they mention, Kristen, anything to confirm? I'm going to defer. I always defer to the Weather Service on.
You're referring to the
signatures.
tornado warning in St. Louis County?
It extends into St. Louis County, but the actual possible tornado is in Franklin County right now.
8 miles west of St. Clair,
Yeah.
moving northeast at 55.
That's it. Did they mention anything about debris?
Radar indicated rotation.
Okay, I have a feeling they're going to come out with something here shortly. I'll defer to them before. It can be complicated to know for sure if this is actually debris in the
Certainly
air.
looks like it, when you're
Yeah.
looking at the correlation
If I
coefficient
go
like
back
that.
one scan, it's not there. If I go back another scan, it's there.
Yeah. It just
Just
literally
see
within
it
this
along
one
with
scan.
A pretty intense
Um,
couplet right there. Couplet is when you have these winds that are going really fast. The green is towards the radar, the red is away. And so what's really happening?
So
is
that's the
there's
velocity he's
right
looking
in that
at.
area. So this is, if you're in Sullivan, this has missed you. Well, remember it hit north of Sullivan. If you're in Stanton, it has passed you now. And it's headed to the northeast. I want to say it like.
For folks that are
45,
watching, we're watching with our
60
colleagues over in
miles per
St.
hour.
Louis. This is
And
Steve
we'll keep track
Templeton,
on that
the
for
chief
next
meteorologist
30
at
minutes. It's
KMOV.
gonna move over
He is joined by Kristen Cornett,
60.
who is
We have
working
it
the
in Willow
radar.
Ridge in just about 14 minutes. Gray Summit, less than 20 minutes. Then into the Pacific and Eureka area in about
all
20
great
to 30
colleagues and
minutes or
friends of
so.
ours, by the way, here.
Let
So we're
me-
kind of
'cause I see
watching
that graphic
folks
on
that
the
we
bottom.
know
Let me move that
somewhat
up.
well here doing their
Okay,
craft.
So there's St. Clair. This is going to miss.
Boy, that is
St.
a
Clair.
tight
It's gonna come
couplet.
pretty close to
That
us
is a
inside.
tornado on the ground, most
Easy.
likely.
You see how
Looks
it
like
was
it
there? It's
can't
now
It
tell
just
if
went behind
if
his
it-
cone there.
yeah, I
He's
can't
getting ready
tell.
to clear it. Yeah.
Yes,
Oh my
still
gosh,
there,
it's
even worse.
Yeah.
It's gonna
And
split.
the
It's gonna
CC, the
go
correlation
47
coefficient's really what
between St. Clair
gives
and
the
Union.
gives
Still
it
pretty
away that
close
it's.
signature
It's a
there.
radar confirmed tornado. That's what they call it. Yeah.
Look at that. I mean,
100%.
that's
I'm willing to bet
debris.
all the chips
I
on
think
that
they
being a
have.
tornado on the ground. It's
Let me check that out.
just
Not
is.
that one.
Wow. That's impressive right there. We knew we were going to see some
Uh,
impressive signatures this evening, but to actually
Not
see
that
them
one.
IRL like
Let
this
me know
is
if they
something
come
else.
out with confirmed, radar confirmed,
Yeah.
because I mean, I'm
I
They're
think-
still trying to get that
Right.
information. Like you would think
this
in
is
such a
Franklin
populated
County.
area, somebody would be like,
Coming
man,
right
the
at
dude is on the
47. Let's zoom out
ground.
a little
Yeah.
bit
This is ugly.
and see some other areas of rotation because we tracked
This
that
is
one
why, just to chime in,
through
this is
Union
why
to
your
Blue Ridge.
reports are so helpful during severe weather. We always say we can have the most powerful radar. We can spend millions of dollars on radar equipment, but there's nothing better than the ground truth, a set of eyes that can actually tell us.
It is mentioning that it has weakened some, but they are still seeing some debris on radar, and that was as of 8:44, 1 minute ago.
So for our friends in Warrenton, especially south of town, we definitely still need to watch this.
All right. So, but what I was saying is there's nothing better than a set of eyes, that ground truth. No matter the money you want to spend on your radar, if you have people that can accurately give you weather information, boy, that is so beneficial during severe weather.
Shonda, I just saw your comment here. Please send them firstalert4.com/live stream. Do not send them our live stream. If you've got friends in St. Louis, they need to go to firstalert4.com.
The number 4.
The number 4, firstalert4.com, or get the First Alert 4 weather app. Again, if you're in the St. Louis area, I do not want folks in St. Louis looking at our stuff because Steve Templeton is who you need to be watching and listening for, not us guys. We're just doing this as a sort of analysis of what's going on to our west, trying to relate it to, kind of what we're seeing here right now, which is basically nothing. And early tomorrow morning, we may get some of the remains of these storms, but it won't be anything like this. I mean, I would be shocked if we saw something like what Steve here in this box is covering right now on the west side of St. Louis here. So just wanted to make that abundantly clear. This is the St. Louis area. If you have friends in St. Louis, that is First Alert 4, KMOV, the TV station. Consume their products. They will protect you.
Switch over to the Doppler winds.
And again, it's a back and forth. I mean, if you're familiar with our severe weather coverage, everybody sort of looks the same. We like to think that the more resources you have, the eyes on the ground, the storm trackers and chase vehicles that are out in the storms, the folks you have on your team, the anchors who are making phone calls, it all comes together on nights like tonight where you do count on being able to get information. You know, the radar is one thing. He's looking at the winds and the both speed and direction from the Doppler radar, looking at the reflectivity to see where we have the heaviest rain, the echoes that show up in terms of radar echoes that look like they could be rotating, which is going to be most of these. And you'll notice the warnings that are outlined as well. Some of those coming in different colors, one a little darker, indicating that it's likely confirmed.
Oh, you see the lightning there on that traffic camera.
And that's because the radar's actually seeing debris out of this. Jerry, where are we
And that's what
looking
he's explaining.
That's 44 near Eureka, and that's where this confirmed tornado is headed. So let's zoom in a little bit and get a better idea of where it is now, since it's moved, and where it's headed. The hook is right in here. But if I switch over to those Doppler winds that help me pinpoint, I mean, you can just see it.
Well, you can
much
really
more
see
clear.
it.
It's right there. If you're in Union and St. Clair, stay in your tornado safe shelter.
You know what I like
especially
about
if you're on
Steve, and
the
I know
south
Steve
side
because
of
we went to
Union,
Purdue,
and if you live
as
on
I've
the
known him
north
for a
side
long,
of
long
St. Clair,
time.
there it is.
He's
right
very
there.
calm
Yeah,
at
this is
his
gonna cross
presentation.
Highway
You know, he's
50,
letting
chill.
people
head to
know,
the
hey,
northeast.
if you're in this area,
Let's see
you
some
need to
of
be
the
in your
cities in the
safe
path
place. This
of
is where it's
that
going.
storm.
These are
Let's
the
get-
storms we're tracking.
let's
I
push
mean,
this
think
down
about
to
what
the
he's juggling there. He's
corner
got
here,
two
so I can get a
tornadoes that are
45 minute
likely on the ground. They're moving into the
45 minute
city,
track
super
of this
populated. This
path.
is a
Let's
lot of
see,
people's
55.
lives at
Let's
risk,
go
but doing
60
a
miles
very
an hour.
good job at showing
Gila
people
Ridge
the
now down to
time
7
that these
minutes, and
storms
Gray
will
Summit
approach,
on 11.
giving an idea of
Pacific
the
to
radar
Eureka area is
shows
about
it, giving an
15
idea
to
that
20
emergency
minutes. But if
personnel
you
are
look at that
reporting it,
trajectory, if I just
and
take that to the
and just
northeast,
step
it's
by
probably gonna
step
be the
guiding
north
us through what
side,
we
kind
need
of
to be doing.
near the high
A nice
school,
job.
maybe just
We
to the
like
north.
Steve around here.
Then you
He's
go a
a
little
good guy.
farther to the northeast. You get kind of the south side, not Chesterfield Valley, but south side Chesterfield.
Matt's asking a question while we've got
Eventually towards-
St. Louis turned up here. He says, are these storms moving northeast? Yeah, the general individual cells are moving to the northeast, roughly 50 to 60 miles per hour. And that whole wall of storms, if you will, near the front, moving east. So that's the general direction of the movement.
Yeah, so if you go on the Wave Weather app, you can put the radar into motion and you'll see how that goes and why we're kind of looking almost to our south and west for where storms will be coming from for the overnight, kind of just west and then due southwest of there, because those individual storm cells are traveling kind of at a north and east sort of trajectory there. But we continue to watch what's going on there.
Chelsea's
in St.
asking,
Louis.
what does it look like for tonight? We've sort of been talking about that. These storms out west will move in our direction, and they should be weakening. We expect them to weaken. Will they be completely weakened when they move into the western part of the viewing area? That's still in question. It probably will start the weakening phase once they pass Evansville, Owensboro, but there could still be a few strong storms west of I-65. Laura is saying you're very calm as well. Well, thank you. We really work hard at being calm. Sometimes it's easy to get wound up, right? But we never let that take over. It's really about thinking of who is watching. And I know my family is on the other end of the TV. I'm staring into a camera telling them, hey, like Steve's doing, calmly, we need to get in our safe place. This is who's most at risk. This is what we're watching. Here's where I want to go next. Let's see whatever sources we have available. So that I appreciate that. And a lot of people are chiming in saying that's why we watch you all. You stay calm when you're weather reporting. Well, thank you. We work hard at making sure we're calm. The more wound up, have you ever been in that scenario where the more wound up somebody is, you find yourself getting wound up and it's like, holy cow.
No one in the history of winding up has ever benefited from being wound up.
Yes.
To put it bluntly. So that's why we don't do that mess.
Will these storms be intense when they get here? Probably not as intense. Weakening. Will they still pack a punch? It's still possible, but there is substantial evidence, looking at the data, that these storms are going to run out of their fuel by the time they reach us. So they have to, it's like firing up an engine. Sometimes it takes a while to get it going. Sometimes it takes a while to sort of pipe it down too.
Yeah. We've got a commenter in here that keeps asking about a mobile home in Corydon, Indiana. Look, tonight's not that night where we're going to see like major tornadoes and people having to evacuate mobile homes left and right. That's not tonight. However, if a tornado warning is issued, you must know where to go, and that is not inside your mobile home. So if you happen to be under a tornado warning at some point tonight, which is a pretty low threat in Corydon, I think it'd be more of a thing up toward like Ferdinand, Huntingburg, down 64 toward Evansville. But if you happen to find yourself in that tornado warning polygon, you know what to do. Evacuate your mobile home. So that's why we say that. But this is probably not that night for you.
Ashley's asking about the time frame again. This is late for us. This will be probably 4, 5, 6 in the morning. So early Saturday morning. These storms aren't even close to Western Kentucky yet when we look at the radar.
Yeah, we got a lot of time before things happen around here. A lot of folks asking about their individual locations, which is to be expected. We all have to be a little bit more prudent in how we consume weather information, and look at these maps, look at our information, and just understand where we're at, where you're at, compared to the information we're giving you here. So make sure you're paying attention.
We've got Steve Templeton on out of St. Louis. We've been watching his coverage as these storms move right into the metro area.
Like that. That's probably right
St.
over the
Louis.
valley right there. Let me zoom in. That's pretty close. Yeah, 26 minutes, Chesterfield Valley. Let's zoom back out and take that all the way to St. Charles. That assumes kind of that northeast trajectory. It's going to be very near St. Charles, Earth City, down near Maryland Heights, Planet Hollywood Casino area in about 30 to 35 minutes. And this is confirmed. This is the one that's confirmed on the ground. Looks like they just issued another observed tornado warning too. And you know what it is? It's just a delay, guys. That's all that was, is the confirmed came across. It just came across delayed. Let me zoom in and show you. This particular tornado warning has 517,000 people. So as I zoom in,
you'll notice that's an
focused on
observed
rotation.
tornado moving into the populated area, Franklin,
Right here,
St. Charles,
about
St.
to
Louis
cross
counties.
44 and Highway 50 junction, just east of Union now.
And we put
If
the
you're in Union, just
population
give it
of the
another beat,
polygon
another minute
on
or
there
two,
to
but
just
you're
give you
pretty
kind
much
of
in
the
the clear. This
gravity
is
of the
kinda hit the
situation.
south
We
and
do that here at
southeast side
WAVE
of
as
town.
well. You
There's
saw
probably going to be some damage. Well, we know
517,000
there's
people under that warning.
debris loft.
Kind of let you know kind of our level of concern, because if that tornado warning says 100 people,
we know it's
it's a lot different than if the tornado warning says 500,000 people.
just in this tornado warning.
That's impressive.
Franklin, St. Charles, St.
That's
Louis,
a
and
very
Warren counties.
populated
You
area.
see how
That's
it
getting
says
ready to hit.
observed? It wasn't observed by a person. It was observed by radar. So we know that from the debris tracker. Okay, so 500,000 people. Here we are at 9 in the evening. We've got 4 million people on a tornado watch, and we've got 500,000 in just one tornado warning that we've been tracking here. We've got another tornado warning here, and that's the one that was near New Haven. And I want to just double check
Something
Missouri.
things have
Missouri.
strengthened
Something
on
to
that
watch
one.
here is look how that tornado warning is
So if you're
darker
in Warren
near
County,
like O'Fallon there on
near
his
Warrenton,
map.
you may
That
have heard
the
sirens
outline.
go
the
off.
outline, that tornado
There was a
warning
weaker
outline is
signature, but
darker.
still
That's
something we
how
need to
Steve is
track,
able to
and it is
indicate
weak.
which
I don't
which
really
tornado
see
warning has
significant
the
rotation
tornado
there.
observed tag
Let me
on it.
back it up
When you're
and show you
watching
where-
WAVE, ours are
where it
actually
was.
outlined in
Pretty strong.
white
That's where
if
it
they
was.
do
This
that.
was
So
at
if you see a red
8:41
polygon with a white
earlier.
outline, that means
was that
this is
rotation
more than
near
just
New
your
Haven. It
normal
wasn't
everyday
on New Haven,
tornado
it was just
warning.
on the northwest
It's
side of
probably
town.
either a tornado
And now
observed or tornado emergency.
That rotation.
Sarah's saying she has
shrunk away.
friends
We'll
that
have
live
that
in
tight
St.
green
Peters,
red
Missouri. Just
together.
message them to
That
see if
Good
they are
idea.
okay. We'll keep you all updated on what's going on. It is a real good idea. That's part of what we're doing here, is just watching our colleagues and from our sister stations out across Missouri. Steve's not the only one on, by the way. We've got a number of folks down into Arkansas, southern parts of Missouri that are watching tornado warnings moving toward their area. But it's a good idea to let your friends know what's happening. That's super important. And that's the whole part of the warning process.
Let me just back out and let me get rid of some of these warnings. Here's the big picture. Once you get on the back side of this line, you're in the clear. The one exception I want to kind of point out is notice down here, you have a storm hit, it moves on. Look how there's another one coming. These are training. So this section of the storm down here, you have to really get on the backside, and it might take a while. But some areas are going to get hit multiple times down here. But like, for instance, in Warren County, your severe threat's pretty much done now. Well, not Warren County, sorry, Warrenton. In eastern Warren County, you're still dealing with a threat that I need to monitor. But, I mean, there's that storm I'm monitoring. There's Warrenton. Boom. Severe threat's done. Kristen's got some new information. Go ahead, Kristen.
There is a new circulation to the southeast of the one you were looking at around Union. So basically the Union one's kind of getting choked off. A new one's developed on the southeast side.
Okay.
And they're getting ready to issue a new tornado warning on that one south of Villa Ridge, also for the Gray Summit area.
Yep. I
It's
see
included.
it.
Look at that.
And it's strong. It is strong.
Wow.
Thank you so much. Yep.
This is why you need multiple
this
eyes
is
on the
going to- in
radar
fact, I
during this
wouldn't be
kind of
surprised if
situation.
this
That's why they've
one
got like 2 or 3 people in the
has debris
studio
in
there.
too. If it doesn't, it might soon.
Oh, yep.
Looks like it does.
Yep.
Okay, let's switch back
Maybe,
over
yeah.
to the Doppler winds. It
Yeah.
doesn't at this point, but man, that's a strong signature.
Close.
So
Yeah.
what
I
Kristen
couldn't
just
tell if it
drew
was from the
our
first
attention
rotation
It
is
or
may
the
be.
second. Yeah.
rotation, area of rotation. So
It may pick up one
we had
soon, though.
one that was
That's
coming
pretty
up
strong.
this direction, and it looks like it's fizzled out. If I go back in time a little
that
bit, you'll
one's
be able
done.
to see that. Right there.
Tornadoes from the same cell will often
And
occlude,
the new
meaning
one is
that the
confirmed.
tornado
Okay.
will kind
So
of
this
lift
one was
northward and
confirmed.
die and get
Watch
ingested
how
into the
quickly it
updraft of the
fizzles out in
storm,
a matter of a
and a
couple
new one will
scans,
get put down to
which
its
is
south.
4 minutes or so.
That's kind of
And
what we're
then
seeing right here. Same
See this bright
supercell
green right here?
putting down
It's
a
gonna
new
turn into-
circulation here.
It's almost like they merged a little bit.
Yeah, they
So
sort
there
of
it
did
is.
merge.
Yeah,
That's-
this
it
may
doesn't
not
look like
be
it's
an inclusion.
completely
Coming right
different
at
Yeah.
to
Gray
me.
Summit.
I think he's right.
Bottom line is,
The
if you're in
animation
Gray
really
Summit, we warned you
proved
about
that.
15 minutes ago, be in your tornado shelter, maybe even more than that. And in fact,
Wow.
guys, I think they've got a considerable tag on this.
Wow.
That
Okay. So let me get to that. Considerable, the Weather Service can put certain tags on a tornado and let you know, like, this is a higher end threat. And this one's observed, and the tornado damage threat is considerable. So that means they think this is a higher end tornado potential. And that's kind of what we were telling you going into today, that we had the higher end tornado potential coming right at Gray Summit. This is going to
You can see based on that velocity, it's just completely wound up tight. That's going to push right up toward 44 and Pacific. That will, move at about 60 miles an hour or so. So it's moving fairly fast. We're looking at the velocity at this point. That gives a measure of wind direction and speed. The direction's important because when you get the couplet like that, you know that if the radar is stationary, which it is, then you have rotation right in one location, and that's the measure.
Oh,
now we're looking at the
gosh.
debris
Wow.
tracker and moving right past Gray Summit. You start to get those blues in there. That is debris being lofted into the air by the radar. So there is a tornado on the ground right there that is moving just off to the northeast of Villa Rose.
And, that may have touched down right along I-44, which is a problem because you may have had vehicles on the roadway during that time when that happened. If it did strike the interstate proper, another thing to consider here when looking at what may be in that debris that we saw on radar there.
Tough to talk about tornadoes at night because you can't see them. So it becomes even more important to have a plan and know where to go and be able to execute that. Again, all of this, for folks that are just jumping in, all of this is in Missouri. We're watching our sister station, KMOV. This is not in Louisville. We expect these storms to weaken as they approach us. There could still be some strong storms, western Kentucky, even west of I-65. That's where we would anticipate the potential for some stronger storms. But really not what we're seeing out here. This is a possible tornado outbreak that's unfolding where we've had a number of tornadoes on the ground. This is the latest one and probably the strongest that we've seen since we've been watching it over the course of the last, what have we been on, an hour and a half here?
Spotter Network report from Nick Young here observed a funnel 2 minutes ago with that particular storm Unknown if it was on the ground. They were too far away at 3 miles out. So that's a little bit of ground truth that something is dangling from the sky. And obviously it's radar confirmed, but gives you some more evidence here.
Yeah, something was on the ground according to the debris tracker.
Exactly. Yep.
Hit Villa Ridge and is now to the northeast, hitting Gray Summit. Headed north, this is Interstate 44, and kind of following Highway 100 right here up into what eventually will be St. Louis County. I just want to do a cross section here on this and see if I can see the bounded weak echo region. Not really seeing.
Beware.
Yeah, tough to tell on that.
No, not seeing that. Okay, but there is a debris ball there. And so this is a signature on radar. There's just higher end that we've got a tornado on the ground, throwing debris in the air. Debris tracker is going to light up. There it is. I'm going to have to kind of tilt up a little bit so you can see it. But that is it. And that's a strong debris signature.
Yeah,
So
it is.
tornado debris signature right over Gray Summit.
That's about as bad as it gets right there.
And
Imans. Sorry,
got a lot of
Kristen,
people-
Go ahead.
A warning near Wentzville.
so new tornado warning near Wentzville. I just want to point out that tornado debris signature was here, but now the rotation's here. This is what we were talking about, how it kind of shifted, okay? So didn't shift by much, but boy, it's right around that Villa Ridge and Gray Summit area. Wentzville area, new tornado warning. It's got to be right here, just on the northwest side. Let me switch over to the warnings and see what we've got there. Yeah, that's it. So if you're in Wentzville and you just heard tornado warning Wentzville, you're in the warning. The rotation is just up 61 here.
They're saying that's moving east at 45.
What's moving east?
The Wentzville tornado.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's just slow it down and
Yeah, you could see it was
coming
jogging
in.
east.
They just got it. Oh, there it goes. Right there. It's crossing 61 right now. It's probably moving east northeast.
Yeah.
And you
Slightly
can
north.
tell that because of the way they drew the what we call polygon. So that's the red box that represents the warning. See how it's angled this way? So it is not moving this way. It's moving more northeast. I don't know why it said east, but bottom line is we see.
And I should mention
just north
the
of
radar
Wentzville,
site for St.
crossing
Louis
61, new tornado
is in a little bit of danger here from that initial tornado, that super strong one. It's starting to get close to, believe it or not, the radar site there, which, I mean, for being able to track the tornado is a good thing because they'll be able to get super high resolution imagery right next to the radar site there. So interesting stuff from St. Louis, to be for certain.
Oh, we're tracking those. We've got them punched up on our radars here. We've got a few more questions to talk about. Graham's saying he's doing the 10K in Louisville tomorrow morning. Is going to be okay. I think that we could have some rain lingering. It's likely that the thunder and lightning would be past us by that point. Let's keep our fingers crossed for that. It certainly, again, we'll just repeat that what moves in will be weakening. So that's a good trend for the runners in the morning. I hope you're able to get that off. Michelle is asking, when does Miami Vice come back in?
We needed some comedic relief. Oh,
Brian was wearing a T-shirt and a sport coat. I walked in and I looked up on the monitor, and he was in here doing a hit on
one of
TV.
these that we're doing now.
And what did I ask you? I said, is he wearing a T-shirt? And then everybody else had already commented that he was looked like he was from Miami Vice.
Kevin, we told everybody to dress.
He's watching now, I think, by the way. So we're not saying anything out of school that we haven't already teased him about earlier today.
But hold on. He followed instructions. We told people to dress for the 80s today.
Oh, see.
He followed it
Bada
too
bing.
literally.
That's funny.
Try my best.
Brian's scheduled to come in overnight if the storms hold together. So we'll be here. So you might see Crockett and Tubbs show up before it's over with. Tammy McNeil, were you anticipating supercell tornadoes tonight? Not necessarily here, but West Kentucky, ? And then weakening as they approach. So
Bingo.
I think that that's what we'll look at. And Kevin is asking, any nocturnal tornadoes possible for Louisville tonight? Again, that threat is very low. It's not zero, but our threat is low, much higher in West Kentucky. Okay.
So that's kind of the rundown.
And Laura's taking up for Brian. He looked good. I didn't say he didn't look good.
He looked great, by the way. It's
Yeah.
not anything.
It was
negative
fine. It was
here.
just different.
We look pretty much the same every day. Brian has a more varied wardrobe than us because he's braver than we are, and frankly, he looks a little better than us. So
Well, speak for yourself. What?
And how he dresses, and how he
I'm just
dresses.
teasing. Listen, I just put a suit on. I'm more comfortable in a suit, a tie. Maybe he was in a hurry. Maybe he's like, you know what? I got the T-shirt on. Good enough. Let's go.
That was a nice.
Maybe his
t-shirt.
dry cleaning was out. And he's like, you know what? I'm just going to have to go with the T-shirt.
I know how that is. I had to go pick up a pair of pants my dry cleaners couldn't find for a week today. Love my dry cleaner, by the way, if you're watching. You guys are awesome. You did a great job.
Now we've launched into a whole, he's baby George Clooney. See? Brian rocks. Crockett and Tubbs. See? Yes. I told you.
I should have had
That's
a
the
photo
fun
of
part.
this loaded in the system tonight.
Yes.
If I were more mischievous, I would have done that.
All right. Let's see. I want to check back in. I'm curious what's happening out to our west.
I will say I was looking at the radar here on my handy dandy mobile device here, and
it's a cell phone.
it's a cell phone. We go out of our way
The kids these
in
days.
TV news to call it anything but a cell phone just to make it sound big. But this debris ball right here, this debris on radar goes up quite a few scan levels. So the debris is getting pretty tall up in the thunderstorm. There is some recent research that suggests with pretty good accuracy that the higher up in the storm, the debris makes it on radar, that correlation coefficient debris makes it, the stronger the tornado. And there's kind of like a linear regression graph that you can see, EF1, EF2, EF3, et cetera. So this may very well be an EF2 plus tornado, just by a super guess here, if that indeed did make it that far up. I'll be curious to see what kind of damage they see out of that. Looks like the debris is still on radar with that he's tracking there. Not quite as apparent as it was earlier. Notice these tornado signatures are a bit more fleeting. They're not like super long track to our west tonight. I think that will be different in the south tomorrow. I think that environment will be a bit more conducive for longer track, more stable sort of mesoscale circulations like they're seeing out there.
7 tornado warnings going on across the country right now. They're spanned across 3 states, Illinois, Missouri, and Arkansas. Make that 9 now. So we're adding 2 more
There you go.
tornado warnings. You can see those, really the core of those approaching St. Louis. Those would be considered the most dangerous simply because of the population they're going into and because of the radar signatures that we've pointed out that show the debris ball as well as what's moving across with just some very strong winds into the St. Louis metro area. So that is what we're watching. And not only are we watching that on our own radar, but we're watching our colleagues track these storms as well. Their SkyTrack camera, by the way, is a little murky. I think it was dirty, and then I think it
you can see the lightning still.
probably got wet. But yeah, tons of lightning with these storms. That's what I noticed when I was sitting there looking at the view. It is really coming down in a big way in terms of lightning.
And if they need to use that sky camera, they will likely autofocus that thing once they get to it. They have so many storms with warnings and things on the ground right now that they don't have a chance to hit the autofocus button just for us, right? So once these storms get closer to St. Louis, I have a feeling that camera will get a bit more.
You think they would frown upon it if I called them and said, hey, can you focus that tower cam? We can't see the lightning as clear over here in Louisville.
You would sound like the same people that call our newsroom about what color tie we're wearing or something like that. Can you please tell the weatherman to change his tie? We're sorry, by the way. We're not trying to make light of that situation. Oh, they actually just fixed.
See, they heard us.
The camera.
They're watching us.
Holy cow! Call me Nostradamus. It's like predicting the future.
They had it so far zoomed in.
Yeah, that looks pretty good.
Now they're looking to see if they can see any of that rotation. Steve has several sort of couplets showing up on the radar view.
Yeah.
So you can take a look at that. And
yeah, that's not fun.
Yeah.
Their app.
That camera, by the way, I think was closer to the St. Louis Zoo, if my St. Louis geography is right. Pretty area out there.
Right now, but you don't realize we're on the live stream. If you lose power, you can get the play-by-play.
Now, Patty is chiming in saying St. Louis has a big tornado. I just heard from the scanner. Well, I hope it's scanner. Maybe she meant scammer.
Oh, gosh, yeah. We're so used to talking about scammers that when a scanner comes into our lexicon, sometimes it gets
you know, if you feel like
Spelled.
you got disconnected, it can be
Oftentimes, I do want to caution you on like scanner traffic. Oftentimes, you'll get reports on the scanner of weather phenomena that may be misinterpreted. You know, not all folks who are on those scanners are, you know, weather junkies like we are. So sometimes you may hear of a tornado, but it may be just kind of a scary cloud in the distance. That happens a lot. So treat those scanner reports as initial, and they're not gospel, but they are a useful tool to kind of see maybe what might be happening.
I'm just flipping through some of our channels that we have the availability to see. Of course, the arch you see there, that's St. Louis, and then the SkyTrack camera out of KMOV showing a wider view now, but still a tremendous amount of lightning coming through.
Yeah, such a pretty city, but not when there's tornadoes on the way.
If you're in Eureka, stay in your shelter.
All right, we're at 10:14. I've got to get ready for the 11 o'clock show here. We'll do this again after the newscast tonight and watch these storms as they move a little closer to us. And, you know, if you're up tonight, you can just expect that we're going to be on at times tracking the storms. That's what we're here for. And once they start moving closer to us, hopefully they're weak and we don't have to worry about severe weather moving through our area. But trust that if it is going to happen, we're going to be here watching it. Just know that it's a fairly low chance, and it gets lower in chance or probability as you work your way from west to east. And it's going to take some time. These probably won't be here until maybe 5 a.m., 6 a.m.
Coffee, anyone? Wow.
Yeah. Some areas, southern Indiana, you know, it would first affect places up near Lawrence County. That's Mitchell, as you work your way up toward Bedford, Indiana. That would be first, and then coming down from there because of the angle that line of storms is at. So that's what we're looking at. Again, still watching. I can't get my eyes off of the radar coming out of St. Louis because it's just like, my
it grabs your
goodness.
attention very easily. If you're a meteorologist, this is like, oh, hello. Well, wow.
Yeah, and just to hear the real-time reports that are coming in.
Western St. Louis County.
Interesting.
Zoom in
Again,
a
this
little
is
bit
St.
more
Louis.
and
This
get
is
you
Missouri.
kind of street level mapping here as we zoom in towards Wildwood.
But still, I mean, that is a tight rotation.
St. Albans Road. I say was because I think this is going to update in a second and jump. St. Albans Road, just west of 100.
You know, Steve brings up a point of the updating radar.
Yeah.
It takes, you know, by the time we create the scans, sometimes they are just a little bit old because of the forward motion of the storm. The radar can't keep up with it fast enough as that storm movement is 60 miles per hour or greater.
And that has improved in recent years. Something called SAILS, SAILS, is a scanning routine the National Weather Service uses now on their radar sites in these situations to give you what's called a base velocity and a base reflectivity scan every minute or so. And it just depends on what exact mode they're in. It could be 30 seconds, a minute, 2 minutes. So you're generally in these situations going to have almost minute by minute radar imagery. But even a minute in a situation where a tornado is moving at 60 miles per hour is a long time, because guess what? That tornado's already moved a mile. So he does have to stay ahead of that still just a little bit despite that imagery.
Destiny's asking, has there ever been a time where a tornado has destroyed a news station? I've always wondered.
Oh, brother.
We had a hurricane destroy one of our stations.
Fox 35 in Orlando got tangentially hit by a tornado earlier this week. That was nuts, where our colleague and really good friend Jessica Dobson works. So
that was wild.
Yeah.
And Brooks, well,
yeah, Brooks
is a good friend too. He was on the air when that happened, and it was like, hey, we've got debris. Well, actually, Jessica yelled that from across the studio, and he's sitting there tracking it saying, looks like this tornado is going to come right at us. And sure enough, before you know it, they had their SkyTrack camera up, and it was like, there's debris. And it's like, oh my gosh, it's on top of us.
Others,
that was Orlando.
Yeah, Orlando. Other situations are like in Houston. I think it was KHOU 11 was destroyed by Harvey flooding. That was a hurricane, obviously. And then KPLC.
That's crazy enough. Brooks was there for that too.
Oh, yeah, he was. I didn't even put two and two together. No, he's totally right. Kevin's right. Brooks was at both stations That's okay. Don't work with
Yeah, I
that
know.
guy then, right? You're going to be in a tornado.
I worked with him for a while. He was at WIS over in South Carolina. He's been
Yes.
all over the place.
Yeah.
But
He attracts disasters at TV stations, poor Brooks. And then another one is KPLC in Lake Charles, our sister station. I think that was Hurricane Laura. That was a very violent hurricane that destroyed a good chunk of the downtown Lake Charles, Louisiana area. And that station was subsequently pretty badly damaged by that hurricane. So, yeah, it's an interesting question to ask. We are at risk. Even at TV stations, when these storms come through, we have had to send our, folks to the basement here at Wave back in the 90s. I remember they get too close, and then you have to figure out where the staff is going to go. It's not like we're a tornado dome here. We can still get damage even at a TV station.
That is true. All right. We are going to take a quick break. When we come back, I will reveal the 10-day earliest alert for you. And then we'll say goodnight so we can jump on for the 11 o'clock news. And then we'll jump back on here probably overnight tonight. So hang with us just one minute and we'll be right back. All right, we're back with you here. We've got the 10-day. Thought we'd just briefly take a quick look at that. Before that, I want to talk about the rest of the weekend. So we still have a decent rain chance on Sunday. Any severe threat is long gone by then. It's just a rainmaker through the early morning hours. But as you head out to church services Sunday morning, could have a little bit of rain. Those showers will fade. Some areas to our south could wind up with 3, 4, 5 inches of rain between tonight and Sunday. You'll notice, look at that.
That's some new data from the 0ZHRRR.
Yeah.
Trying to go 4+ just southeast of Louisville, Taylorsville, Shelbyville, down to just southeast of Litchfield.
Yeah, that is soggy, and clearly we have flood alerts in place for that, and we'll just have to watch and see how that unfolds. It depends really what happens tomorrow for that. Tonight's going to be fast moving. We can handle that, but what happens tomorrow will tell the story for how much rain, how heavy it may be on tomorrow afternoon and evening. So here's the 10-day. St. Patrick's, one of my favorite holidays, by the way. It looks better. We're going to see that rain Sunday fade, come back with some sunshine by Monday, 62. And then we warm back into the 70s for a couple of days. But it doesn't last for the first day of spring.
No, because unfortunately a cold front moves through on Wednesday night. And we may get a snowflake or two, especially in our northern counties on Thursday. We'll look more at that once we get through this little severe weather stint, the next 36 hours here. And then we warm back up. Notice our worst day is 46. We're in the time of year where
the first day of spring. How odd is that?
And of course it is. That seems to happen like every other year like that. But when you check out the forecast, the worst is 46 for a high and the worst for a low is 29 next Friday morning. So spring is kind of sprung.
Have you noticed the trees already leafing
trees are
out?
blooming out. I was on a walk this morning, noticed that, and so did my nose.
That's the bad part. The allergy season is right around the corner, too. All right, before we let you go, one more check of what's coming into St. Louis. You can see now they have additional tornado warnings lined up, ready to move in. The whole metro of St. Louis is likely going to wind up under this tornado warning as they move through. You've got, it looks like, the one that is confirmed. That's the darker marooned outline storm just west of St. Louis, and the one just to the south of St. Louis is coming in with a pretty decent, that's almost right under the S in winds is where you see the rotation I'm looking at, and then you can see the other one that Steve is tracking there.
Significant right now, but you are in a tornado warning in Washington County, and it's for this storm right here. So we'll see if this tightens up. Kent and Kristen, keep an eye on that in Washington County for me, just like you did for the one in Jefferson County. Let's zoom back up into the Chesterfield area and see where this rotation is now. I'm going to have to go back in time a little bit just to get my eyes on it. There it is in Wildwood. There it is, right there. A little weaker. Good news, friends. This is a little weaker. Still a tornado, potential for this to still be on the ground, but I'm definitely thinking this is like weakening, broadening, and this might be a situation where it goes through a cycle.
It's so close to the radar too. Sometimes that makes it even harder to tell.
You can get that cone of silence around it. You can kind of see it up toward Nelson Spring there, but thankfully it's staying just enough away from the radar. It doesn't endanger the radar. That's happened before too, where a tornado hits the radar and then, well, that's not good for the rest of the night.
Let me double check. And you are, the rotation is just north of you, crossing Clarkson. I would stay in your tornado shelter for just a few more minutes. You're getting hit with the heavy rain. If you're in Chesterfield, stay in your tornado shelter especially. And then this extends a little farther towards Creve Coeur even. Let's zoom in, and I'm going to switch back over to the Doppler.
All right, for folks that want to watch the ongoing coverage from First Alert 4, that's KMOV out of St. Louis, Steve Templeton, Kristen Cornett. They are the ones on the air, sort of keeping up with what's happening in St. Louis. It's First Alert, the number 4.com.
That's right.
And you can scroll to their page and click watch live, and you'll be able to watch Steve and Kristen and the rest of the news team there walk through that. We're going to have to hang it up for now. We'll likely be back on tracking more of these storms out to our west with our colleagues coming up after the 11 o'clock show. But I've got to get some of information into our show, and we'll catch you a little later on. So appreciate everybody jumping in, and we will say goodbye for now as we take a quick view of that 10-day, and we'll catch you back on here later tonight or tomorrow. Appreciate you watching.
Good night, everybody.